we are looking at the current state of the market. This is XRP on a short term trying to come back down to test this level of support. So we do have this level, which is a short term support. Then we have the next one, which is a medium term support structure, which we are observing that the price is respecting as of now. But one thing you have to keep in mind is the macroeconomics which is playing out. This is the 10-year. So the yield is actually dropping 4.62 now, which is down 18 basis points. So when that's happening, the question you have to ask for yourself is a short squeeze coming? Or it's going to be a bank run? Because you do get different opinions in the market. So you're trying to weigh in on understanding what can be the possibility. Because when you see a bank like this in 110 billion in losses, like that doesn't really look good in the current situation. But then you come into the stock market to look at this. You want to actually see the trend. And that trend kind of shows you like, okay, you went into that level of fear, which was extreme fear, and then you're slowly recovering into fear. So I want to see whether we are going into the neutral. That means people are more or less being optimistic. But I'm looking at all this and saying like, okay, yeah, we do see these possibilities coming out. And what does that actually mean? That means if there is a short squeeze coming, the market is about to go up, which means a lot of scammers are trying to follow you, find you, take your assets. But as much efforts as possible to stay out of these stuff. You don't really want to give them your assets after waiting for this long for the market cycle, and the market cycle is about to pick up. Fundamentals of XRP Ledger, as we know, is growing strong on each and every day. So make sure your XRP is safe, your long-term bags are safely packed and kept aside. You don't have to connect it to the internet every now and then if you really don't have to. Because what we are watching right now most likely is going to be a retest and a rejection. Why am I saying that? Because there is something which the market showing us that the possibility of that is high. In yesterday's video, while we were here, we discussed about the possibility of this coming back up. That is what we are watching right now. We came back up to the moving average. We are testing that. What next? That's what we're going to try and answer here. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Before we get in, please do hit that like button if you are receiving value for your time. And as we go, I really didn't think I would be able to do a video today. I went out with the boy, and this is too cold for an October. I should say that. The morning it was 6 or 7 degrees, and I'm like, this is an October. Wow. That's too cold for an October. So I just had a bad cold, and I'm trying to do all the, do-yourself stuff in the home and trying to recover. But let's keep that aside and jump on to what we are looking at right now. This is XRP, right? We're looking at this on a daily, and we see the price went down, but someone pushed it back up. But right now, we would like to look at it in this view. So I'm more or less what we are watching here is a possible bounce and coming back down. So we want to actually see this coming back down to maybe 0.47 and then bouncing off. This is something which I would be interested in watching, because if that happens on a daily, that means you're coming back down as a wick lower. That means you're actually creating a fake out to the downside, which usually pushes the price back to the upside. You get these kind of moves after that. So once you get such moves, you do usually get these kind of moves where the volatility comes in. Now, that's why I was saying, okay, you want to see a double bottom here, and most likely this double bottom is coming in. Remember, a while back when we were discussing about this possibility, I told you guys to watch out for a double bottom. Here it is. We are kind of playing that right now, which means you right now have a lot of opportunity. If that's true, we've discussed, then this is what you are about to watch. the price showing you something like this, an inverted head and shoulder. Last time we had something like this, the price went up. Before that, if you go back in history of this asset, you will watch similar movements in the price, then boom. So why should it be different this time? If we are playing that narrative again and again and again, then I would say, let's not just say this asset is playing something different this time, because it's doing the exact same thing again and again and again. Why should we go against it? Now, if you keep that idea in mind and you ask like, okay, does the entire crypto market support this? You have to start from Bitcoin, then go on to the total market for sure. So here we are on the Bitcoin side of things. When we came to 25,000 range, I told you guys like, okay, this is a possible range to look at where we may actually see this double bottom playing out, where our roof is 31K. Right now we are close to 27,500, and I would like to see this coming, somewhere close to 27 and then bouncing off. That would be a good sign. Right now on a daily, this is what you're watching. You went above the 21-day moving average. You are now trending above that one. Each time you see this happening, that's actually a positive thing for the price action. On the negative side, if it's, say, dropping, coming back to the range and getting rejected, that's a different story. Here, what's happening is an entirely different one. You are moving to the upside. Now, is there a negative possibility coming out here? Yeah, you cannot neglect the fact that on the support level, you are actually making a level which can sound like a head and shoulder pattern. So usually head and shoulder patterns, if confirmed, are negative. So that's what we are eyeing on this chart, looking at what the possibilities suggest us. As of now, what we have in the divergence, or at least as we can read from the language of technical analysis, is that we have this level suggesting a hidden bullish divergence. So the RSI is still showing you it is moving inside a pattern. Now, let me actually use crystal clear line so that you guys understand what I'm talking about. This is a channel, and whenever the price moves inside a channel which is trending against the macro trend, that means it's a corrective action and it's going to move in the direction of price soon. So if that's true, we should more or less align towards the narrative of there is going to be a fake move where the market is uncertain. Now you're watching the safe haven assets moving up. So that kind of tends to push that idea that even if you have a short-term drop, more or less you are going to keep this macro level safe and then bounce off. Now, for the idea of 2023 bulling, 2023 ending up in a macro bullish range, what we do want to see is that this range stays active. Now, there are a couple of negative thought process on that as well, because if we are watching something like this, that should be acting like this, which means the actual run up, which we really wanted to see breaking through the range here of 30,000, may come by the end of the year, maybe the end of November, maybe early December. But what can the price do, say, for example, to surprise us? Because usually the market does that every now and then. If the market does come down and fake out, then I would assume the market is about to run up from here. That means early November. By the end of October to early November, we should see the range of 30,000 being tested. And if that's the case, that means there is massive bullishness hiding inside this price. That means any downside here is going to be met with a lot of buyers. So on a weekly, you're right now observing the fact that the price is still above the 21-day moving average and it is still weighing on it. Now, that's an exponential moving average, which means if you actually are to put in a simple moving average, you will actually get to see the price is still following the trend. Say you put in a 21 and look for this. So we want to actually keep it on a different color. We'll choose red for the time being. The world is red right now. So let's push it that way. You get that. On a 21-day moving average, you're trying to test that level, which shows like, okay, you need to actually get a bounce up. Because last time this happened, where the exponential moving average was below the simple moving average, you saw exact same thing. The price came down today, went a little bit lower, but came back up and bounced. Now, a trend higher here, if you enter the zone and slow down, it can be a rejection coming in. That's something we have seen on a down trend. That's something important to keep in mind. When you trend lower, when you're trending lower, these moving average zones act as a resistance. So right now I'm looking at this and asking the question like, okay, we are actually trending up. We are making a pattern like this. We are not yet trending lower. We managed to put in higher highs and we managed to put in higher lows. It's a little bit of higher highs and higher lows, tiny bit, but the market is still showing you that fact. Now, if you take that idea and move on to the total market, for the crypto market, we are particularly interested in the altcoin side of things because that gives you more detail to look at where the maximum volatility will be coming in. So when you actually look at this chart, which is just excluding the Bitcoin and Ether, now Ether plays a critical role right now with all these news narratives, the short-term stuff, but let me actually take the momentum side of things. Right now, if you actually follow the momentum, you'll actually see, okay, the targeted momentum is not alive yet. We're still watching the price holding the trend line, but you don't have enough momentum right now. The price is still below the moving average zone, which is acting as a resistance. So it doesn't actually give you a huge idea of moving up because you're consistently putting in lower highs at this point. You're actually putting in lower highs each point. But the positive move is that you're also putting in a higher low, which is like, okay, that means you are trending like this. Now, let me clear that off and give you guys the actual idea. This is a symmetrical pattern. So we want to actually see this breaking to the upside, retesting and going up. That is the most bullish scenario. But what if the market decides to break to the downside? Now, this won't be there. It will actually look a little bit different, which would be like this. Is that the most likely outcome? That's a big question which we have to ask ourselves. Now, if you ask me to be honest about what I think is true in this market right now, I'm watching this price movements and I'm looking at the history and back testing this every single time. Every single time. The importance of that term is really, really critical here. I see that whenever the price drops to the downside, making lower lows like this consistently, at that time on the same points, if the RSI is making a higher low, let me put that in another color to give you guys the idea. Whenever this happens, what I have noticed over the years is that that is the bottom. And if you're holding on to that trend line, you may come back down to that trend line over and over again, which still is okay. That means your trend line in the RSI is showing you the bottom is already in. So I'm not actually worried about the price doing this kind of a shit. I'm more of looking at the possibility of, okay, this is what the RSI is showing me. So when the price is like this, there can be volatility coming in. There can be a move to the upside like this, maybe a downwick, creating havoc in the market, chaos of, kicking out both the buyers and sellers if you're highly levered, and then slowly moving back up. That's a possibility. So we are in a range, a tight range, because if you actually look at this scenario, or your understanding is, yeah, we created a base like that, and we came back down to retest that base. You need to understand that point, which means, yeah, I'm not looking for something like this, but the possibility of a retest here shouldn't be neglected. Now, take that into different assets, and ask that question. Okay, there's XLM. If the price come back down to 0.09, close to that, is that bad? One. Second question is, do you think that the RSI is at the support level or it's breaking the support level? If it's me looking at the price, I would say, okay, more or less, it's coming back to a trend line where it has hit and bounced a couple of times. So I would assume that this time is not different. we may come back down to that range and bounce off because this is a weekly chart. Now, I'll have to go on to a daily chart to actually look at where the trend line falls on the daily and see where the price is right now. So if you actually try and plot that, you still have some more level to the downside on this strength index to see a bottom, which means, yeah, it's somewhat close to where you are. As we discussed last time when the price was here at the moment, like 3 or 4 days back, I told you guys, look for a bottom here, close to 0.1, 0.09. That's going to be a great range if it's me as a buyer. Now, that's just one asset. You go into XRP on the same thought process. You want to actually look at the price and ask the question, are we trending higher? Are we trending lower? There is an easy answer. You're trending higher with much more momentum compared to a lot of different assets. Now, yes, for sure, when you enter into assets like these, you are literally watching a trend which is going nuts compared to a lot of other assets. And remember, when these prices were showing you the Wyckoff Creek, we discussed about this, saying, look at this possibility. And it did that. It broke through that. We followed that through after the confirmation here. We told you I'm buying in. We did take the profit up here close to the top. Now, all of that, whenever I'm doing anything like that, I'm informing here in the group. So if you are interested in that kind of things, when I'm buying, when I'm selling, you can have a look at that. Now, keep this in mind. When the price is showing you something like that is coming, you need to ask that question. Okay, the price action is showing me something like that is coming. Great. What are you observing in the market? The price went up. It's true. It's going up. But the RSI is showing you the strength hasn't increased much in that run up. So someone big has moved up and the retailers have pushed the price up. So unless this breaks back to the upside, you may watch a double bottom like this coming back to retest this range of 1,000 and then making a base and going back. So yes, it's going to go higher ultimately, but there is going to be some volatility in between. But the issue will more or less be on the assets, which I say, for example, right now at a support level. If you actually watch these, you really want these assets to bounce back up to make a higher high, because if not, this doesn't actually add a lot of bullishness in the market. We're going through a ton of assets in the group, breaking each of them down so that you know what to expect. Yes, short-term levels are important, but the macro pattern, macro directions are critical. You cannot actually neglect the fact that this is happening on the macro level. Remember, when the price was here, everyone was talking, buy this, buy this. And I told you, don't do that. Wait, right? And when the divergence comes in, yeah, I'm fine. If you want to buy in, you can. Because I believe the bottom is kind of in. We may revisit that bottom, but I don't think we are going to actually capitulate more because I believe the capitulation is over. So it depends on asset to asset, but you have a macro opportunity in this market right now. Believe me that this is happening for something. If you see a major run to the upside in some of those assets, don't be scared because this is just what we are watching. The macro economy is moving to this direction and you don't want to miss that. So with that, again, let me request, if you received value, please do smash that like button for me. Thank you for each and every one of you who have been smashing that like button for me. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.